You ever heard the sound of your own voice played back on a video or an audio and thought, what is that? That doesn't sound like me. That's not the voice that I've been hearing in my head this whole time. And it's a bit cringy, right? You might think, I thought I sounded different and I don't really like hearing the sound of my own voice when it's played back. I felt like that for so long. And one of the reasons I'm making this video is because of this own journey I've been on with my own voice and how hearing it has changed so much. And so many people I've spoken to who struggle to record themselves on video, record themselves on audio even, right? Because of this relationship we have to hearing our own voice played back. It can really get in our way. Maybe there's someone you're talking to who sends voice notes and you struggle to send them back because, again, the same reason, not wanting to hear the sound of your own voice. We all have this voice, right? This beautiful gift we've been given, and holding back from using it in the most expressive ways doesn't need to continue. And that's, again, one of the reasons that I'm making this video. I remember I have the earliest memories going back from when I was really young, and the sound of the voice that I have in my own head sounded so different to when I heard it on video. I remember people would sometimes play a video of maybe when I was in school or somewhere else, and I'm listening to it back and thinking, is that really how I sound? I don't like it. It sounds a bit strange to be hearing my voice played back to me on video. So I would avoid it. You know, I would avoid putting myself in situations where I would be recorded or have to hear myself played back. And this got even worse because there's a particular memory of being in school, my voice was breaking, you know, it started to change, and there were certain people in my school that actually made fun of it. They would make fun of me sounding a bit nasally or my voice sounding a bit strange, and that had an impact because I suddenly started to think, oh, maybe my voice doesn't actually sound that good. Maybe there's something even wrong with how I sound. And it did affect me. It did have an impact on how I saw my own voice, which is quite a shame because, as I said, we have this beautiful gift we've been given, and I started to judge it. I started to judge my own voice. And over the years, when there would be situations to record something, to share something, I held back, but that didn't need to continue. And in this video, I'm going to share a few things, a few insights, a few lessons that have helped me to now not just like the sound of my voice, but love it. I love hearing my voice now. I'm proud of it, and I love the way that I sound, even when I'm hearing it played back to me. So if you connect with this, if you can relate, if part of you sometimes feels that cringe when you hear yourself played back, or you might avoid recording yourself or expressing your voice in a certain way, then this really could be for you. Let's say you have a new drink or a new type of food and you're not quite used to the taste. They describe this as having an acquired taste of something, especially when it's not something that you've been used to. Now, because in our own mind, our voice sounds a certain way, but when we hear it played back, it's completely different. And because of that contrast, because of that difference, it can be a bit unsettling because we suddenly feel like we're not actually hearing ourselves, we're hearing a different version of that. But the reason this acquired taste analogy is really important is as I began to hear myself more, as I began to record more, as I began to record more voice notes or videos and just hear myself back, I started to acquire the taste for that voice. Not the voice in here, but the voice that I was hearing externally. It's a bit similar with our own voices. If you were to expose yourself and put in that practice to just hearing yourself played back, you develop a taste for your own voice and you begin to hear it a bit differently. So that's one way to see this, right? It's an acquired taste because, typically speaking, if it wasn't for technology, if it wasn't for all of these different devices we use to record, we would never hear our own voice. If you go back in history, people didn't have means to record, so they would never hear their voice played back. So you can be understanding with yourself that it's something a bit different, especially if you haven't heard it before, but treat it like as an acquired taste because that initial way you hear it doesn't need to continue. It can completely transform. Another change that I had over the years was I noticed when I started sharing content through video, through social media, I used to get comments, and those comments were quite different. Some people would say, oh, you need to be more expressive in your tone. You need to dial up your pitch and have more contrast in how you speak because it comes across as quite monotone. And I know that. However, I also had people say, wow, your voice is so soothing. I could just keep listening to you. It's very relaxing, it's very calming, and I really like the way that you sound. Dulcet tones was used quite a few times to describe it. So on the one hand, there were people that wanted me to change how I'm talking, and on the other hand, there were people that loved it. Now, this isn't about saying, oh, because people like it, that's okay. It's not about that. It's about seeing that you're not for everyone, your voice is not for everyone, my voice is not for everyone. But if I can own that, if I can own my authentic way of speaking and communicating accepting and see that it's going to be for some and not going to be for others, that's great. Because if I was to vary the pitch, vary the tone, and suddenly start speaking in a way that was just not true to who I am, then the people that were resonating are no longer going to resonate too. So this is the point. No matter what kind of voice you have, no matter how it sounds, no matter how you think it sounds, no matter how other people think it sounds, it has its own unique intrinsic beauty. And this comes on to my next point. Because I judged my voice, because I started to paint it in a certain way with a certain image I had of it, it robs me from really seeing the beauty of it. Our judgment clouds us from seeing the beauty in anything. This does not just apply to our voice. It applies to how we look, it applies to how we think, how we communicate, how we see our world. Judgment robs us of that beauty. And because I could see I was creating this judgment of my voice, I was blind to seeing the beauty in it. So what began to change was me starting to be forgiving with myself, to be understanding and loving and forgiving with myself so that the judgment could melt away. And I can start to hear and see my voice completely differently. As I said earlier in this video, I love the way I sound now. I love my voice, I'm proud of it, and I would never want to hold it back ever again. So if you hate the sound of your voice, there's something to see, because you have a gift, as I said. You've got something to express and share with the world. And the way that you think it sounds, that doesn't mean it's truth. We can rob ourselves of seeing the beauty in our own voice. And I'll get you to consider or think about what might open up or become possible if you were to change that relationship you have with your voice, to start seeing its beauty as opposed to judging it, and to develop that acquired taste for your own voice. Maybe you want to record more content, maybe you want to share more videos or voice notes or anything that requires you to use your voice. It doesn't need to be something that is held back. And if you've ever related to this, if you've ever cringed at the sound of hearing your own voice back, I'd love to know more. I'd love to hear more about your story, more about if things have changed for you or something that might have helped you with it. So please drop a comment, share more about yourself, more about your journey. I'd love to know. And if you found value in this, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all the next one. Much love.